Hey everyone, it's Leandra at the Lexington facility for new Vocations Racehorse adoption program. And today for our meet and greet, we wanted to try something a little bit different. And we're really just going to be observing a workout for two horses who I wanted to feature. One here, who Julie is riding, is named SANDLOT Star. He is a 2015 gelding, and he's currently up on our website at horseadoption.com. If you go to the horses tab, you'll see his profile. That's SANDLOT Star. And so his history with us is that he had a really old fracture on his right front ankle. It was so old that even in the x-rays they could tell it was very old. But we have updated x-rays, so we know what it looked like, and we knew that there was some suspensory involvement at some point. But as you can see, he's going around really nicely, and he could go in a lot of different directions. He has a relatively short, stocky build. Allie, do you remember how tall he is? 15'3"?
Yeah, 15'3", right at 16.
Yeah, I think he was maybe at 16 or right under, but he has a shorter, stocky build, kind of quarter horse-ish, some might say. But he is going through this exercise here with Julie that she's set up, or maybe she's just changing direction. Sorry. They were doing these ground pulls before. She's trying to teach him to pay a little more attention and to picking up his feet, which you can tell he struggles with sometimes, as he was tripping right there. But he is a really kind of happy-go-lucky guy. He's been out on the trails. He just sometimes, he's young enough at 5 years old that he's starting to learn things and to have more refined skills, as we'll call them. But he still sometimes forgets where his legs are. So ground pull exercises like that are challenging, and it can mentally engage them. And then they also have to inevitably pay more attention to where they're putting their feet, which can be a great building block for when you start them jumping down the line. And SANDLOT Star is one who could potentially be a fun low hunter horse, or, you know, like I said, a trail horse, or could go in a lot of different directions. But in just trying to lay the foundation for him, give him those skills for his toolbox that he can apply towards whatever career he goes into. That's a good start. Yay! And so the other horse in the ring here is Dahlia Noir. She's a 2012 mare. She had a bone cyst in her left front fetlock area, which is their ankle. And a bone cyst will look like a slight lucency in an x-ray. So while in an x-ray you can see the black and white contrast, bone cysts will look like a kind of grayer area. It won't have the same bone density, so it can be seen as a structural weakness. Now Dahlia here has also been with us before in Lexington. She was adopted before in return for behavioral issues, and she came back to us. She was also at our Medina facility. And you can see even in the progress through the videos we have of her up on our YouTube channel, she's gone from a horse who was less developed in especially her top line and her self-carriage, the way that she presents herself and moves. She wasn't really much to look at in her movement. It's not something that you'd say, wow, you know, look at that horse. And now she's turned into a horse that really can kind of take the stage, and you can see she's not perfect. She's still putting her head up. That this is, she's made a lot of development in the last 2 weeks, more than you could, we would ever expect of them, but she's really stepped up to the plate. She's shown us her beautiful colors here, and we're really excited to see what she's going to do. Now, as for that bone cyst, our vet just evaluated it again, and he doesn't think that she's going to have any issues. Our concern was mostly trying to see if she could do things like jump, because she is a horse who could really, I mean, dominate in a cross-country field. Clearly she has some of the movement to be a nice dressage prospect, and I think that she'd have a blast jumping, so we really wanted to see what our vet felt she would be capable of doing, so that we can set her up for success in the future. And so he said he thought that she would be fine as an eventer, and that if an issue ever came up, if she did start to get sore, then you would have the option of injecting her ankle. And I know injections for some people can seem like a scary thing because it's a very ambiguous thing to say. So just to clarify, when we say injections, that's generally with a steroid, something like cortisone. Many of you, if you have had golfer's elbow, I know I had a cortisone injection in my foot for just impact and trying to eliminate inflammation. It serves as a targeted, localized response to inflammation. So you can't really reach inflammation with ice alone sometimes. So injections of a steroid help to address anti-inflammatory efforts at a very, very localized precision level. So that's what that is. And oftentimes in those injections, they'll also use something like hyaluronic acid or HA, and that can serve as a buffer in their joints to provide that little bit of impact absorption. So just like you have the cartilage in your bone and you have you know, the fluids and the different structures of your joints that help to absorb impact. Sometimes with things like arthritis, if that's due to wear and tear, where they don't have the same cartilage and the buffer in that joint to protect and lubricate the joint, then something like HA, especially one, like we said, that's hyper-targeted, is going to help to provide that little extra buffer. So when you break it down like that, they're really not that bad. Now, when they can be bad is if they're overused, if they're used as a crutch or to mask an injury, that, you know, instead of giving it time off, you inject it and carry on. Well, if it really does truly need to heal more, then maybe that's not enough. Or if you're really over-injecting, especially in a young horse, that can lead to actually breaking down the joint rather than assisting it. So it's really about doing it with the smart advice of a good vet. And like I said, when you break it down, it's really, there's nothing intrinsically bad about it. So like I said, our vet doesn't think that she will necessarily even need the injections, but I always, you know, people tend to have these knee-jerk reactions to when you bring up injection. So it's important to really understand what we're talking about when we talk about the potential of having to use something like injections down the line. And oftentimes, maybe, you know, not super often, but every once in a while, we will inject a horse's joint where they're obviously experiencing some discomfort after we've x-rayed it and said, oh, maybe there's some arthritic change. It's really not that much, but maybe the horse is just kind of ouchy on it. So we might help them out by just eliminating that inflammation. And many times our objective is hopefully to have that be a one-time thing. And a lot of times it is not something that you'll need to keep up forever. So just trying to wrap our heads around what's truly going on when we talk about injections. But again, Dahlia Noir, we're not expecting that she will necessarily need the maintenance, but if she does, that's all it means. So Dahlia Noir, you can check out her videos up on YouTube already. Her profile will be up on our page, horseadoption.com, soon enough as it is. But I think that she's a really, really exceptional horse. She's one that certainly has stood out to us and has really accelerated in her learning process. So check out her videos on our YouTube channel and hopefully her profile soon. SANDLOT Star over here is already up on our page at horseadoption.com. Allie, do we have any questions coming in? All right. Well, if that's it, then we're gonna say bye to you guys for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out the pages for these guys right here. SANDLOT Star with Julie riding, and then Dahlia Noir with Dom on her back. So thank you so much for joining us today. Type in those questions in the comments bar if you have any that come up after the fact. But please join us again tomorrow. We'll have more meet and greets so you can see more of these outstanding guys. Thanks so much.